Hi, I am Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden. Welcome to my quiz, Finding Your Coordinates. This is not your usual quiz. It's not going to be 10 questions where you put in a little selection and it spits out results. As fun as that is, this works a little differently because we have to access your identity, we have to access your subconscious mind, and the goal is to make you consciously aware of what it is you're really dealing with. Now, this information that you're about to figure out is going to be crucial in knowing. It's basically the first step of designing your healing journey by defining where you are, where you want to go, and what's preventing you from getting there. This is going to be very, very helpful information when we set up your discovery call and also when you attend one of my classes, workshops, or events. All of it comes back to finding your coordinates. It's all based off of your coordinates. So your coordinates are based off of three perspectives. And a lot of people think that we have one perspective. A lot of people aren't even aware that we have perspective. We talk instead in our society about our point of view, our opinions, and our feelings. All of those things combined is a single perspective. And in the psychology world, we start to dabble and get a little bit into what your perspective is. But there's not very much information there because it's just not been explored since the 1970s. So the goal here is to raise your conscious awareness so you understand part of the big picture, and it is all based on perspective psychology. I'm not going to get into it. What I'm going to do instead is just break down the three parts of your subconscious mind, of your inner workings and what you're actually dealing with, and shedding some light on what's going on. I'm going to try and keep this video very short and brief, but it's basically you have three perspectives inside of you. You have your ethical perspective. This is the defining what you want, what you desire, where you want to go in life. All of your dreams is your first perspective. And your dreams are based off of your ethical perspective, what you value and what laws you ethically adhere to inside of you. That is your ethical perspective. And that is your governing who you are and where it is you actually want to go. Now, the second number in perspective psychology is your subconscious mind. I do a lot of work on the subconscious mind. And if you already watched my video on the homepage, I break this down explaining to you that your subconscious mind has a different agenda. Its goal is to keep you safe. In order to define what is safe for you, it depends a lot on what kind of abuse you suffered and what kind of an environment or what kind of parents raised you. So the second number is locating your subconscious mind's number. And that is going to be based off of what you are afraid of. The instructions are located below. So the first number, we're going to focus on what your identity is, what your ethical perspective is. Your second number is what your subconscious mind is safely tucked away at. Now, this number is actually your comfort zone, whereas your first number is really your adventuring goals. So you want to go on an adventure to a different perspective, and you have this longing and desire to be and live and honor that perspective, but your subconscious mind needs to keep you safe. And due to trauma, due to abuse, and due to societal structure, we've been taught that it isn't safe to leave a certain perspective. So the subconscious mind is completely focused on making sure you stay within the confines of a different perspective, most likely two, three, or four. In fact, it's going to be two, three, or four, maybe even one, one, two, three, or four. It cannot go beyond that. It cannot advance beyond that. So when we are at perspective three, that's our environmental, that is our current environmental perspective. So what we require with the third number is locating what our environment is. Now, our society revolves around the fourth stage, the fourth perspective, which is the belief or the ethical belief that law and order and rules have the primary authority at the detriment of the individual. at the detriment of the self, which means that it doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter what you need. What matters, according to the fourth perspective, is law and order. Even if that hurts you, law and order is more important. So that is our system that we're currently living in. Now we're seeing a change. We're seeing that shift from the fourth stage over to the fifth stage. That's when we start to value and prioritize the self as much as law and order. So we are seeing that societal shift. But for most of us, it's going to be encompassing a fourth society, a fourth perspective. Now, if you live in a home where the third perspective is primary or the second perspective is primary, that actually means that you could be living in an environment that is two or three. Now, if you have a perspective of five or six, that's going to cause cognitive dissonance. And that's where pain and trauma and mental illness comes from, is things from our fear system inside of our subconscious mind that tell us we need to stay within the confines of a comfort zone. The subconscious mind's defined safety, which is perspectives 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we're going to go ahead and start putting this all together. Take a look at all the different categories. There's going to be 3 sections. The first one is going to be going off of your gut, what feels more right, what you want to be, what you desire. So read through the 8 perspectives, or I'm sorry, I believe I give you 6 to choose from. Read through the perspectives and go with the one that feels good to you. Go with the one that resonates. There's no other determining factor. You just read through these perspectives, and whichever one just makes your whole system purr like warm and fuzzy, that's you. That's your ethical perspective. That's step 1. The second number is going to be based off of what abuse you suffered, how you were parented, what you think your mother and your father was. And your mother and your father are going to have 2 different ones. So if you have an event in your mind, and it could be anybody, not just your mother or your father. It could be anyone who abused you, anyone who told you you couldn't be whatever perspective you are. Whatever primary trauma you endured that told you you could not leave a certain structural system, that's the perspective your subconscious mind identifies with safety and comfort zone. The third number is the environment, which is most likely going to be 4 for most of us, but it also could be something lower that reflects your abuse. So if you're currently living with somebody who is violent or aggressive, if you're currently living with a narcissist, that's going to be your third perspective. And if you're living with them, your environment is going to be the third perspective, the third stage. Now, in addition to that, you might be a 5 or a 6. So right off the bat, if you identify with a 5 or 6, that means your ethical perspective is located there at number 1, or not at that particular stage. That's your first number, whether it be whatever it is, 5, 6. But your subconscious mind probably identifies with safety being 3 or safety being 2, because that's where, if you escape or if you walk away from that particular perspective, the abuse starts. If you don't adhere to the structures of the abuser, then the abuse starts, and that communicates that you're not safe. So that's going to be where your subconscious mind defines safety. And then that environment is going to be what you are currently living in. Now, the third number, the environmental perspective, that perspective is going to change anytime you change environments. So your home is going to have one, your outside society is going to have one, public transportation is going to have one. Everyone's going to have one. If you go to school, if you go to your job, by the way, public transportation, jobs, and schools are all level 4 systems, 100%. You go to the grocery store and you are in a level 4 system. But if you are home and you're healthy, it's going to reflect you, which is why when some people leave and they're toxic for you and you get that relief of, oh, I can relax and breathe, what you are doing is you are actually adjusting the environmental perspective of their level 3 abuse, and then suddenly you're sitting comfortably in your own environment, which is why we love our own space, why we love our own rooms, why we love our own homes, is because it's the one place we can go to in most cases where we can create and control the environment to match the environment we desire, which reflects our ethical perspective, our first perspective. So I know it's going to be confusing for some. I know it's a lot of information, and it really is a lot of information. It's also an entirely different way of thinking. So if you struggle with this, book a call with me and I will work it out with you. I'm going to go ahead. There are descriptions down below in the 3 parts to walk you through it. If you have any problems at all, like I said, message me, let me know. If you are in the ethical perspective or in the subconscious mind perspective between 1 and 4, you might really struggle understanding this. And that's just because that's where your perspective stage is. If you are in a 5 or a 6 ethical perspective, you will be more inclined to understand what it is I'm talking about and more likely to pick up on it. And again, that's because it reflects your ethical perspective. So go ahead and take the quiz, get started. I call it a quiz, but like I said, determine what your combination is, what your 3 numbers are. Once you have that number, book a call with me and be ready to give me that number. I actually should put it in the book form or in the form so that you can just enter your combination so I can see right away what it is. So get your combination. That is your coordinates, and that is the first place to start. Those coordinates are going to define for you where you are emotionally, where you need to be, what subconscious mind is holding you into what perspective, what obstacle is in your way. And then we'll be able to look at how it is you need to get there. We'll get your plan. And that's where you step into my events and my workshops. And that's where I put together the plan and I start to show you, okay, this is where you are. This is where you need to get. So thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.